they think they're buying, it's labeled organic and it says it's certified, but that chicken or that egg wasn't produced by a chicken that was ever outdoors. So I think livestock, that's been one of the big challenges. There's the organic standards, because all these big, I'm going to say large-scale farms have gotten into the organic business. There's been a loss of integrity. So regenerative farming is methods of farming that are actually rebuilding primarily the soil. So there's a lot of talk, especially when you talk about regenerative grazing. It sequesters carbon from the atmosphere, CO2 gets back into the soil where it should be, and it adds value to the soil in terms of organic matter. And you don't see that with conventional farming, is actually releasing carbon into the atmosphere rather than sequestering carbon. So that's one of the main reasons we focus on the grazing aspect of our farming, is because it does help sequester carbon.
I think it's like really a kind of a noble thing that Cliff does, because we spend so much time and energy on doing those extra things each day. Like, for example, moving those broiler chicks. I'm thinking most places they'll just throw food into the feed lot, or alternatively they just put it into some feed bin. We move them, give them new area. I mean, that's that in and of itself is about an hour just to take care of those chicks. So I mean, we honestly spend between probably 4 and 5 hours a day doing kind of the extra stuff. Where if we were doing it conventionally, they'd stay in one area. We just keep throwing feed in there. The chicks would stay in a very close quarter, and feed would be thrown in there. They move around, they run around. They have a much different life than the conventional farming. So way more than half our day in doing that. So.
So one of the first things that I took on after becoming director here was trying to understand the impacts of conventional farming versus regenerative farming, some of the newer practices we're hearing about, and what was the model that I should get behind as director of natural resources to say we're doing the best we can for the land.
With the move to these big factory farms, it's highly efficient. It's a super efficient way to raise any livestock. You can put them in a building, temperature control building. We have automatic feeders, automatic waterers. The only folks that benefit from that are the people the large corporations that own that business and generate a nice profit. And the consumers that buy that are like, oh wow, this is really cheap chicken.
And the conventional farming is definitely the most popular one, but there's some criticism, and some of that is valid, with nutrient loss off of the farm, to where the nutrients are no longer acting in the way that the farmer is hoping to be growing that plant in place, but instead washing off the site and becoming a pollutant.
So, one of the principles of regenerative ag is that we're not using any chemicals, any synthetic fertilizers, any herbicides, any pesticides. So what the animals do is they add, obviously, their own natural fertilizer. And they also are kind of what I'm going to call natural weed eater, in the sense that they'll eat a lot of the plants that other farmers might call weeds, like clover, chicory, and a lot of the forbs. Those are really, really nutritious plants for the livestock to eat, but other guys will call them weeds.
I can just physically observe how, I mean, you go out in the beef pasture right now and you see the areas where our chickens ran through 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is green, it is beautiful. The very first thing that the beef cows do is go to that area and eat it. So you just see how, like, that the fact that they have, you know, we've used that, they've run through it, they've you know, and we've rotated through it, that those beef cows are now coming in and benefiting from it. You know, it just looks so different than this dirt lot that you see a lot of times when you go to farms. So that's just me physically observing, like, you know, what I see. So.
So I guess advice I would have for consumers on how to find regeneratively farmed meat is to basically know your farmer, and that then you can be assured that it was coming from an ethical place, that it was a safe, you know it's safe because you can work with them to see their facility. They shouldn't ever be trying to hide anything. So it's, you know, that sort of involvement of where your food comes from. Doesn't come as cheap as some of the mystery meat from the grocery store. So you've got to be prepared to pay a little bit more for a more quality product. But I think eventually as more of this becomes popular, it won't be at such a premium.
So on one hand, I get the feeling that there is kind of a growing interest in it, you know, especially this year with the pandemic. You know, we saw a lot of people were coming here. And I don't know if it's just because they couldn't find what they wanted in the grocery store, and so they were coming to us because we were here, but hopefully some of those people, you know, have gotten educated about, you know, food and good food choices and the advantages of organic and regeneratively raised food. But it's really, I think it's just an educational issue. We just need to really focus more, as much as we can, resources on educating people and helping them understand the benefits and why it's important that they pay a little extra for, you know, better quality food.